Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. I am Janice Kobum coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari inaugurates 9.5 billion naira Zuba housing estate.
The community.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo inaugurates 23.4 kilometers Eket 18 road. Plus, U.S. policeman who held back crowd convicted in George Floyd's murder. We'll bring you details of the stories and more in a moment. Who today in Abuja inaugurated a 9.5 billion naira Zuba housing estate in the Federal Capital Territory FCT. The president, while inaugurating the 746 housing unit estate, said it would help check multidimensional poverty in the country. According to reports, the 9.5 billion naira estate, which is located on 18.5 hectares of land, consists of 16 blocks of 3-bedroom flats and a flat of 8 flats. Others are 32 blocks of 2-bedroom flats in a block of 8 flats, 14 blocks of 1-bedroom flats in a block of 16 flats, and 5 blocks of prosperity and develop the economy. He said that the project was part of government's efforts to curb poverty and provide shelter for citizens. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari today in Abuja approved the partial exclusion of the Ministry of Finance Incorporated from the Treasury single account. Buhari also granted the request of the Board of MAFI to charge management and transaction fees and the inclusion of the Minister of Power in the Governing Council. The President, who conveyed the approval at the first Governing Council meeting of MAFI, recalled that the new MAFI was launched on February 1, 2023. The President stressed that MAFI must be supported to exercise its responsibilities of achieving strong returns on investment while also contributing to broader economic development of the country. In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has reappointed Abike Dabiri-Erewa for the second term as the chairman of Nigeria's In-Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM. The notice of her reappointment was contained in a letter written by the President to the Senate requesting the upper chamber to confirm her reappointment. President Buhari also wrote a separate letter to the Senate seeking the confirmation of appointment of 6 federal commissioners of the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission (RMAFC) to fill the existing vacancies in the states. The nominees are Ayogu Eze, Peter Okpara, Hawa Aliyu, Rajiya Ayuba, Kolawole Adebola, and Ismaila Agaka. Elsewhere now, President Muhammadu Buhari, who has advised the incoming administration of Bola Tinubu to continue to, which was delivered by Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa. The President said his administration believed in the enthronement of decent work that is productive, delivering a fair income with security and social protection, and safeguarding the basic rights of workers. He said the federal government was committed to reducing this. Away from that, the federal government has concluded plans to explore alternative funding models for the development of oil and gas in Nigeria. This is targeted at achieving the sustainable development of the nation's petroleum resources despite funding challenges that investors encounter in the process of investing in Nigeria. The Commission Chief Executive, the Nigerian Upstream Downstream Regulatory Commission, Gbenga Komolafe, disclosed this at the opening of the pavilion and exhibition stand of Nigeria oil and gas companies at the Oil Technology Conference, which opened in Houston, Texas, United States of America, yesterday. Komolafe said the need to develop the country's hydrocarbon resources requires huge funding, hence the decision of the Commission to develop an alternative funding model for the industry. He assured that Nigeria will not be left behind in the conversation as the country is placed where needs meet opportunities, adding that Africa and by extension Nigeria is well positioned. Meanwhile, the federal government has said that Egyptian authorities has opened their country's borders for Nigerians fleeing the Sudan war to cross after an intervention by President Muhammadu Buhari. This was made known by the chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, via her Twitter handle. Dabiri-Erewa said that an Air Force plane is already on ground in Aswan, Egypt, and the processing of the first set of evacuees will begin soon. Recall that Egypt had earlier given the federal government conditions for Nigerians fleeing the Sudan war to cross its borders. In the meantime, the Federal Capital Territory Administration (FCTA) has restated its commitment towards meeting its targeted revenue projection of over 213 billion naira for the 2023 fiscal year. FCT Permanent Secretary Olushode Adeshola gave this assurance during the administration and Federal Capital Territory Development Authority Conference Hall, Abuja. Adeshola noted that though the general performance in the first quarter of the 2023, which rose to 97.27%, was encouraging, more efforts needs to be done to wake up to their respective. The administration would review some of its interventions in the satellite towns to boost its revenue and enable We move now to the red chambers, where the Senate has directed its Committee on the Interior to urgently investigate the circumstances leading to the delay of issuance and renewal of the Nigerian passports by the Nigerian Immigration Services. The upper chamber also mandated the committee to investigate the contract award for the production of passports and revert to issuance renewal of Nigerian international passports by the Nigerian Immigration Services at plenary today, and was sponsored by the senator representing Anambra Central, Uche Okunife, in her lead debate, said the delay in the renewal of Nigeria's passport by the NRS was resulting in untold hardship for Nigerians who need to travel out of the country or return to the country. Meanwhile, the Senate has concluded arrangements for uniform retirement age for judicial officers across the country. To this effect, the Senate has directed the clerk to the National Assembly CNA, Sani Tambuwal, to, as a matter of urgency, transmit Constitution Alteration Bill number 20, which Identification Act. The resolution of the upper chamber was sequel to a motion titled Passage of Constitution 5th Alteration Bill number 20, Uniform Retirement Age for Judicial Officers 2023, sponsored by the Chairman of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Constitution Review and Deputy Senate President, Senator Ovie Omoagege, APC Delta Central. Its plan to disburse the sum of $700 million from the Cabotage Vessel Finance Fund. At the plenary today, members of the House resolved to direct the Committee on Local Content to immediately commence investigation of the Cabotage Vessel Finance Fund to determine all monies that have been accrued to the fund since to audit all contracts that have been entered into in the cabotage regime and reports the same to the House within 14 days. Furthermore, the House resolved to invite the Minister of Transport, Muazu Sambo, and the Director General of NIMASA, Bashir Jamal, to report to the House Committee on Local Content on the state of the Cabotage Vessel Finance Fund and how the funds have been applied over the past 20 years. These resolutions were sequel to the unanimous adoption of a motion of urgent public importance moved by a member of the House, Henry Nwawuba, titled Urgent Need to Stop the Planned Disbursement of $700 million Cabotage Vessel Finance Fund and investigate the total accrual of the fund. And the National Iron Ore Mining Company, pending when proper stakeholder consultation was concluded. The House also invited the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamilekun Adigbite, to explain the details of the concession. The decision followed the consideration of a motion of urgent public importance moved by Abdullahi Halims from Kogi State at plenary. Representing the motion, Halims recalled an advertorial by the Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development published on national dailies titled Requesting Qualification for the Concession of the Companies. He queried the hurry in the concession process even as he faulted the mining. In the meantime, House of Representatives has appealed to the government of the United Kingdom to be merciful in sentencing Ike Ekweremadu and his wife Beatrice. The resolution was reached following a motion moved by Toby Okechukwu, a lawmaker from Enugu State. A UK court found the Ekweremadu couple guilty of conspiracy to harvest the organ of another Nigerian. The duo will be sentenced in the coming days. Moving the motion, Okechukwu said diplomatic intervention is a justification for the charges against Ekweremadus. He urged the UK government mercy in sentencing Ekweremadu, his wife, and the Dr. Ekweremadu family. In another development now, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, has expressed opposition to a bill before the House of Representatives mandating medical and dental practitioners to undergo a minimum of 5 years of service to obtain a full license. According to him, a private member's bill in the National Assembly comes from either a legislator's constituents or is authored by a legislator after a discussion with people in the concerned constituency who was cool at a level where dialogue could be initiated around fees payable.
These have been budgeted for. The increases we're talking about for the doctors in the health sector. The doctors have concluded their negotiation under the auspice of the NMA with Federal Ministry of Health, and for the nurses and midwife and everybody in the health sector. The same for the university lecturers who went on strike for 9 months or 8 months last year. The same for workers in the university system and polytechnic. Already 350 billion have been captured in the appropriation of 2023.
Elsewhere now, the Rivers State government has commenced a trial of 4 suspected cultism, murder and possession of illegal firearms. Sonai Bari, Saga, Precious Mona, Loveday Lega, and Confidence Kirini, popularly called General Elite, kidnapped and killed the pharmacist Monalo Sunday, despite collecting 10,000 as ransom from his family. Speaking from the witness box, the wife of the late pharmacist, Preeti Sunday Newa, told the court that the 4 defendants deceived her husband that they were not going to kill him, but only taking him into the bush for oath-taking, despite pleas from her. She said her husband never came back alive, but was now at large. The trial judge, Justice Augusta Kingsley Chukwu, after listening to the prosecution witness, adjourned the case to May 16, 23, 27, June 4, 11, 18, and July 4. Now, the recently inaugurated Committee on the Status of Medical Education in Nigerian Universities has met with Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission, Professor Abubakar Rashid, to present to him an interim report on the assigned task. This is as the NUC reiterated its stance on the need for medical doctors and the academics to acquire master's and doctorate degrees to enable them attain the rank of professors. According to reports, there have been controversies over the need for medical doctors to acquire master's and doctorate degrees following the acquisition of medical fellowships. Earlier, the NUC's Executive Secretary reiterated that the recently introduced Doctor of Medicine program was for an entirely different purpose from the original Medicine by Fellowship program and therefore submitted that one can never replace the other. According to a statement posted on the NUC website today, Rashid And still in education, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAM) has released the results of the 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME) conducted last Tuesday and Monday. According to the board, registered for the examination in the 708 CBT centers in 105 examination towns in the country. The board noted the released results excluded candidates are under investigation, as well as those who are visually impaired, which are undergoing processes. It's urged candidates who wrote that the candidates had used for the registration and the results would be returned as a text message. Of the House, it was gathered that about 18 out of the 24 members signed for the Speaker's impeachment today. 4 of the members, including Jinja Onwusibi, Solomon Oshun, moved by Chukwudi Apugo, Umuahia East, and seconded by Oke Igwe, PDP, Umuna Ochi. Hudu Yunusa Ari has been arrested by the police. The Force Public Relations Officer CSP Olumuyiwa Dejobi confirmed this in a statement today. The Indo Progressives Congress APC Aisha Dahiru Ahmed, winner of the supplementary poll. The police spokesperson affirmed that Hudu was arrested in Abuja today. Led former President Olusegun Obasanjo and other top government officials to the inauguration of the 23.4 kilometers Eket for the growth of the nation and Africa as a whole. A correspondent completes the report.
Road, with an appreciation of Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel for his outstanding and superlative performance in the last 8 years. Speaking during the event, and invest in other sectors of the economy, like agriculture, to enhance the economy of the state.
To me, success is making a place better than you find it. And you have made the whole of Akwa Ibom. But again, success has another part. Success without good successful becomes a big hollow. And what you said to me is what has happened. Predictability. And Governor-elect, I congratulate you. I congratulate the governor. I congratulate myself. And
for the Chief Judge of the state on the 29th of this month, just before the swearing in of the new governor. The governor also assured that the MRO noted that many other projects in the health, education, and power sectors, as well as other road infrastructures, which are at different stages of completion, will be completed and inaugurated by the incoming administration within its first 100 days in office.
To the next governor, who will run a marathon race as if he's running a 100-meter race, because there are still a whole lot of projects, some at 90, some at 95, some at 80, that I'm sure within his first 100 days in office, he will tidy them up. One of which is about 10. About 10 is about 90. They will asphalt the remaining areas, and then that will also be commissioned. And so many other projects. Not only 9. Before I get to the stadium, I will commission the official residence for the chief judge of this state. Before now, the chief judge had never gotten a... People are saying, Governor, the MRO is ready. Immediately Baba landed this morning. The first thing he commended us also was our vision in doing not just a taxiway when he landed at the airport. He saw the vision of a second, full assurance that we can commission that second runway before I leave the office. The MRO is also ready. We're waiting for the tooling and the equipment. But if the equipment terminal building is almost ready, I have the assurances that on May 26th, we'll commission the latest, the smartest.
Some stakeholders from the benefiting communities, including Senator Heli Neswene, Eket Local Government Chairman Akanimi Yenetomi, member representing Etina Federal Constituency, and achievement of his administration. The 23.489 Eket Vision News.
Meanwhile, Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel has announced that a valedictory church service while addressing worshippers at the New Month Government House Covenant service held at the Banquet Hall, Government House, Uyo, explained that the International Worship Center is an altar built and development of the state. Reflecting on the 8 years of his administration, the governor expressed appreciation to God for the relative peace and joy has seen his administration through 2 major economic recessions and the outbreak of COVID-19, which ravaged the world. Gratuities out of the 18 billion naira outstanding gratuities inherited from previous administrations. Government House correspondent General Appreciation and Reflection said that at the conclusion of every endeavor or project, there was a need for appreciation and reflection, adding that the focus of appreciation in the news. Bank loans to private sector hits 43 trillion naira. Do stay with us. While Uganda's Minister of State for Labour, Employment and Industrial Relations, Colonel Charles Okello Ngola, retired, was reportedly killed by his police spokesperson Fred Enaga, disclosed that the minister was shot at his residence in Kanja at close range while entering his vehicle to the trading center at Kanja Ring Road, where he also shot himself dead. Enaga said a team of... Still in Africa now, Parliament in Uganda have watered down an anti-homosexuality bill that originally criminalized people for simply identifying. Museveni suggested changes. He said the clause penalizing people who identify as gay would have led to the persecution of people since the public will be required to report to the authorities any form of homosexuality, abuse against children or other vulnerable people. Landlords will knowingly rent premises for homosexual acts risk going to prison for 7 years. The bill was passed with an overwhelmingly struck down by Uganda's Constitutional Court in 2014. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom, UK says, and the increasingly volatile situation in the country. According to Foreign Secretary James Cleverly, the operation in Sudan is the longest and largest airlift by any Western nation, as the last UK airlift from Sudan took off from Port Sudan on the Red Sea coast on Monday. Meanwhile, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office said it would release passengers' numbers for the last related development. Now, the UN's World Food Programme WFP has said that it has resumed its operations in Sudan as the fighting in the country and White Nile in the coming days. Recall that the WFP suspended operations when 3 staff members were killed and the million people were already facing severe food insecurity in Sudan before the outbreak of conflict, and these numbers are expected to increase significantly as the fighting continues. Meanwhile, the situation in the country. Meanwhile, a bus and a lorry have reportedly been set ablaze in Sep, but most areas have remained calm. In the central business district, some protest leaders who attempted to drop a petition at the president's office were dispersed by police with tear gas. Meanwhile, police have been deployed around the. According to reports, many shops in Kisumu were closed with traders wary of the looting and destruction witnessed during previous protests after a court in Malindi released them. Magistrate IV Wasike freed Paul Ntenge Mackenzie and his suspected accomplices after an application by the prosecution to close the file. They have been driven to neighboring Mombasa County, which is further south along the coast of the cult group were found in mass graves last month. Mackenzie, the leader of the group, was accused of encouraging them to stab themselves to death. He denied any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, a post-mortem report showed that some of the victims were also killed through suffocating people, including journalists, activists, and campaigners, for executing a terrorist act and attempting to overthrow the government, and no bodyguards were shot dead there. The alleged culprits, who were identified as Ethiopian security and intelligence agents, had already been jailed. Prominent politicians and journalists who are based inside and outside the country. According to reports, the killing of the Prosperity Party official came weeks after the federal government announced the dissolution of a paramilitary force, which had prompted widespread protest and violence in the Amara region. Meanwhile, also arrested at the beginning of last month. Moving now to the of manslaughter. To Tao, who held back on Lucas as 3 other officers pinned a 46-year-old black man to the ground for northern U.S. city. Tao opted to be tried by a judge rather than a jury. Cahill convicted him on Monday that went viral, kneeling on Floyd's neck for nearly 10 minutes until he passed out and died. From Sudan on 4 military transport planes. The Defense Ministry, in a statement, noted that the evacuees include those who are asking for assistance. Reports say Moscow and Khartoum have good relations, as Russia's Wagner paramilitary group has been in Sudan for years and helps guard the country's gold mine. HCR has said it is facing a $1.5 billion funding gap for Sudan. The UNHCR spokesperson Olga Sarado disclosed this recently in Geneva, Switzerland. According to Rapted on April 15, reports say the number of people displaced in the last 2 weeks exceeds all conflict-related displacements in Sudan in 2022. Meanwhile, the UN said its 2023 aid appeals for Sudan were $1.5 billion short and only $1.3 trillion in credits to private sector players during the first quarter of 2023, bringing the total to 43 trillion naira. The figures were obtained from the latest money and credit statistics published on the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) website. Year on year, the 1.3 trillion naira credit to the private sector in the first quarter. Meanwhile, CBN data showed that total loans to the private sector rose from 41 in March. According to reports now, the the CBN has been making significant efforts to ensure more loans are given to the private sector. Still in business, the Securities and Exchange Commission, according to the circular issued on Monday in Abuja, the Commission said the platforms had not been registered and described their financial services, New Finance LLC and New FX Limited, AX124, Evolve Consulting LLC, and Trust Fund Mining Global Limited. Meanwhile, Wema Bank PLC has said it recorded a year-on-year increase of 35.0% from 29.14 billion naira recorded in the corresponding period of 2022. It disclosed this in a statement on its unaudited results for the first quarter ended March 30th, 2023. The bank recorded a profit before tax of 6.21 billion naira, a YY increase of 88.18% over the 3.3 billion, 81% to 5.4 billion naira from 2.86 billion naira in quarter 1, 2022. Still to come in the news. Alcara's breed. In health, the World Health Organization said in its report that after 3 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, health systems across the world have started showing the first major signs of health system recovery. The interim report on the 4th round of the Global Pulse Survey on continuity of essential health services during the COVID-19 pandemic reduced disruptions in the delivery of routine health services, but highlighted the need to invest in recovery and stronger resilience for the future. According to reports, in almost 1/4 of services on average, in 84 countries where trend analysis is possible, the percentage of disrupted services declined on average from 56%. And still in health now, the president of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, says until medical professionals are paid decent salary, review of salaries of resident doctors should have taken place in 2014 with rising inflation and attendant economic shocks. He noted that the NARD president further demanded the immediate withdrawal of the bill seeking to compel medical and dental graduates to render 5 years commission for talks, despite its 2-week ultimatum, but has reportedly been issuing threats. Recall that on April 29, 2023, NARD issued a 2-week ultimatum to the federal government. Meanwhile, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has said a release by health officials in Malaysia and Taiwan on the recall of Indomie's special chicken-flavored noodles reported to contain ethylene oxide, a flammable colorless gas, which was on the prohibition list. The Director General of NAFDAC, Mojisola Adeyeye, in an interview with newsmen, said the agency has begun investigation. We move now to sports, where world number 2 ranked Daniil Medvedev crashed out against Russian compatriot Aslan Karatsev 7-6, 7-1, 6-4 in the women's competition. World number 2 Ariana Sabalenka. Meanwhile, top-seeded Spaniard Alcaraz, who also beat Zverev in last season's Madrid finals, gained revenge for the Germans' triumph when they will miss the Women's World Cup as England's bid to win the competition suffered a fresh injury blow. Cabaye has not played since suffering a knee injury while playing for Chelsea against West Ham in February. The 29-year-old is now set to undergo knee surgery and confirmed today that Meanwhile, English Premier League side Leeds United is set to free manager Javi Gracia. According to reports, the club also is set to exit the club. Recall that Gracia joined Leeds on a flexible contract, but the board is considering bringing in former Bolton, West Ham and Everton manager Allardyce. Gracia, who was appointed in February to man the club, has only watches. We move now to entertainment scene, where popular actress Tonto DK has that she posted on her Instagram page. She explained that she had been attempting to burn her stubborn tummy fat, adding it has not been easy. The actress and musician said that after undergoing the first surgery, she was careless with the healing process. And lastly, Afrobeat singer David Adeleke, professionally known by his stage name as Davido, to beg for a feature in his song. Portable took to Instagram to beg Davido for just one verse. He shared a video of him pleading with Davido. Responding to his request, Davido simply hailed him as Zazu. And on our website at spectrumtv.ng. And you have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Janice Cobham. Do have a good night.